I'll bottom line this for you, Ambassador. The thing that's been perplexing to me is sort of the way in which the leadership of Denmark has responded, which is that Greenlanders will determine the future of Greenland, which doesn't sound as emphatic as it belongs to us. Like when Justin Trudeau said the other day, all hell will have to freeze over before we become a state. One, it was kind of ridiculous, but two, it was emphatic, right? It was like, that's not going to happen. And so the one I would just ask, that didn't sound to me as though that they were willing to say, just cut it out. Like, this is ours. Stop talking about it. And secondly, it seems from some of the genuine reporting that there is an openness to people in Greenland from wanting to create some relationship with the United States. And so I would just throw that out there as a topic. And then just lastly say, beyond ultimately taking it over, if that's one end, and building more commercially from a private sector standpoint, right, which obviously we could do any day, is there any middle ground? For
Yeah.
instance, some kind of protectorate status or treaty that could be signed that said we are, we're going to whatever, but is there a middle ground as well? So first, what is that relationship? And then second, is there a middle ground between private sector investment and ultimately, becoming a state?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate all those questions, Sean, very, very much. I think the first piece, when you talk about sort of the rhetoric that the Danish government may use vis-a-vis Greenland, you can't, and this may get me in trouble in Copenhagen, but you can't. They tread very lightly as it relates to their rhetoric regarding their relationship with Greenland. So, meaning they respect the autonomy of Greenland. They have obviously, Greenland has made strides towards independence over the course of the last couple of decades, but they are not fundamentally not independent yet, especially as it relates to foreign and national security policy. And really, they rely exclusively on the Danes for foreign and national security policy. So I really do think, vis-a-vis the sort of rhetoric, I haven't actually seen the quote you're referring to, but anytime the Danish prime minister may speak about Greenland, they will lead with autonomy, because for risk of sort of ruffling feathers that don't need to be ruffled in a time. Let's be clear on this right now. The Danes and the Greenlanders are freaked out over the course of the last 48 hours. And it's largely having to do with the Mar-a-Lago press conference. So I think the rhetoric is almost like more cautious now because of that. As it relates to the second point you make, I think the answer to that is absolutely. So we even have, at the embassy, we actually have like non-military sort of a trilateral organization who does include Copenhagen as well, between Copenhagen, Greenland, and the United States as equal partners. It's largely an economic and things like education exchange, having Greenlandic students study in the United States, further American investment in Denmark. We held summits numerous times. I think you could throw a lot of energy and organization into things like that. I would tell you this, that I think if you rolled back the clock a little bit and went back because obviously Russia and China are greater threats today, in my mind, than they have been historically, to increase the American military presence and investment in Greenland. I think, look, I can't speak to it now, and I'm not part of the negotiation and haven't been for several years, but I think the folks would be extraordinarily open to that. So I think they're
So maybe more Okinawa than Guam.
Maybe. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. I think I keep on trying to come up with a perfect analogy here. I don't know the answer to that. But I think that, look, this is the thing about it. And this is the thing where I think people need to understand where the Greenlanders' heads are, assuming that there would probably have to be some sort of either referendum or they do have a mini parliament in Nuuk, that there'd have to be popular support for it. The popular support in Greenland is moving towards independence. It is not towards being another colony of another larger country. So you have to get in, and this is why I think Trump's foreign policy is so flawed fundamentally, is because it kind of discards the human side of it. And that's what I'm trying to speak to here, both on the Copenhagen side and in the nuke side, that you have to also understand the psyche of your allies if you're going to be successful in these negotiations. And I just don't think we're there yet. And it's or not even close is the truth. And in fact, I think the Mar-a-Lago press conference was, if Donald Trump's end goal is to purchase Greenland, was enormously counterproductive to his goal, because essentially you now have the entire populations of the kingdom sort of aligned against them and being forced to say, we are not for sale. This is not on the table, and which I think is counterproductive generally.